Recently, I posted a video where I talked about the 10 best quarterbacks who transferred this offseason. There were a solid number of names that I left off the list because of just how many great quarterbacks switched schools. So today we're going to be taking a look at the next 10 best quarterbacks who are in the transfer portal that are at a new program for the 2022 season. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps share the video with more college football fans and helps with that YouTube algorithm. Plus, it only takes a second to do. We'll start in the Pac-12, where almost every team will have a brand new starting quarterback. Jaden Delora transferred to Arizona after spending time with Washington State. Last season for the Cougars, he threw for 2,800 yards with 23 passing touchdowns. Delora was named the Pac-12's Offensive Freshman of the Year in 2021 after he led the conference in passing yards and touchdowns during the regular season. The Wildcats have been one of the worst teams in all of the FBS over the last few years, but this appears to be a program that's on the rise. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be competing for a Pac-12 title this year, but I do think Jaden Delora is going to win some games with Arizona this year, and they're going to be fighting for a bowl game. You know what they say, third time's the charm. Well, at least that's what JT Daniels is hoping for, as he's going to be taking his talents to West Virginia. After stints with USC and Georgia, hopefully Daniels is able to put together a full and healthy season for the Mountaineers. While he was with the Bulldogs, Daniels went 7-0 as the starting quarterback, but lost the gig to Stetson Bennett. With Stetson returning, Daniels wanted to try and win the starting job elsewhere. He chose West Virginia over teams such as Oregon State and Missouri. The Mountaineers have 5 returning offensive linemen with over 100 combined starts, along with some really solid offensive talent. The move to West Virginia also reunites Daniels with Graham Harrell, who's the new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at West Virginia. Harrell was at USC with Daniels as the offensive coordinator back in 2019. JT Daniels is set up for success at West Virginia, so hopefully this is the year he can finally break out and have that really good season. In our last video, we talked about longtime starting Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez transferring to Kansas State. Well, with him gone, they had to bring someone in. Well, actually they brought in 2 quarterbacks, but I'm going to talk about the one who I currently have winning the starting job, Casey Thompson. Thompson transferred in after spending multiple seasons with Texas. Last season with the Longhorns, he had 2,100 passing yards and 24 passing touchdowns. He was pretty good for them last season, but with Quinn Ewers coming in, it made sense for him to transfer out. Nebraska was a team that barely lost majority of their games last season, so maybe with a quarterback upgrade, they'll turn into a Big Ten contender. Staying in the SEC will be Zac Calzada, who will be transferring from Texas A&M to Auburn. With Bo Nix leaving for Oregon, there's going to be a battle for the starting job between Calzada and TJ Finley. In 2021, Calzada took over for an injured Haynes Kings and started 10 games for the Aggies. He threw for 2,200 yards with 17 passing touchdowns. His best game of the season came against Alabama, where he threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns while taking down the Tide. Now, I'm not quite certain just how good of a quarterback Calzada is, but whoever's starting for Auburn next year is definitely going to be getting an upgrade, because at this rate, anything is better than Bo Nix. With Texas A&M losing a quarterback, they picked up one in former LSU quarterback Max Johnson. When he played for LSU, he was pretty good for the Tigers. In 18 games between 2020 and 2021, he threw for just under 4,000 yards with 35 passing touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. Shortly after Brian Kelly was announced as LSU's new coach, Johnson decided to enter the portal. He'll be competing with Haynes Kings, who started to begin the 2021 season. Now, this is definitely going to be one of the more exciting quarterback battles to keep our eye on during the offseason. If you could take a second and give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It only takes a second to do, and it helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. We'll go back to the Pac-12 as former Indiana quarterback Michael Penix Jr. transferred to Washington. He spent the last 4 seasons with the Hoosiers. He was their starter for 3 years, but struggled to stay on the field, as he suffered season-ending injuries each year, including ACL injuries in 2018 and 2020. This year, Penix played 5 games before he separated an AC joint in his throwing shoulder. He finished the season with 900 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Washington's head coach, Jaden Delora, was the Indiana offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach back in 2019. Penix played 6 games that season, but he posted the highest quarterback rating of his entire career. Last year for the Huskies, freshman Dylan Morris was their starting quarterback. Again, this looks like another interesting quarterback battle to keep an eye on for 2022. Well, with Penix Jr. leaving Indiana, that opened a spot for the starting quarterback job. Former Missouri quarterback Connor Basilak transferred in. In his 2 seasons with the Tigers, he threw for over 5,000 yards with 25 total touchdowns. He was the SEC Co-Freshman of the Year in 2020. He appeared in 11 games this season, completing 65% of his passes for 2,500 yards and 16 passing touchdowns. One of the more underrated quarterback transfers this offseason was Reese Plumlee, who transferred from Ole Miss to UCF. He began his career as a quarterback, but he switched to receiver during the 2020 season to make room for Matt Corral. Plumlee was used as a receiver, passer, and a rusher over the last 2 seasons for the Rebels. In 10 games this past year, he caught 19 passes for 200 yards while rushing for 72 yards on 9 carries. In 2020, Plumlee appeared in 7 games with 1 start at wide receiver. He ran the ball 25 times for 100 yards and had 6 receptions for 80 yards, while also completing 5 passes for 65 yards and a touchdown. Plumlee said that when he entered the transfer portal, he wanted to switch back to quarterback at his next school. He started the final 8 games of the 2019 season at quarterback, where he threw for 1,000 yards with 4 passing touchdowns, but he was a threat on the ground as he broke the Ole Miss freshman rushing record with 1,000 rushing yards, as well as total touchdowns with 16. That year earned him true freshman All-American honors. It's been some time since we've seen him fully as a quarterback, so it's going to be interesting to see how he looks out there for UCF. Up next, we have Braxton Burmeister, who's going to be transferring to San Diego State after spending time with Virginia Tech and Oregon. He's made 20 career starts, going 9-7 at Virginia Tech, and racked up 3,000 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 800 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. With Burmeister leaving Virginia Tech, that opened a spot for a starter. Former Marshall quarterback Grant Wells transferred in. Wells was a 2-year starter for Marshall, leading them to a 7-6 record this past year. He threw for 3,500 yards with 16 touchdowns. In 2020, he led Marshall to a Conference USA East Division title and was named the league's Freshman of the Year. That season, he threw for over 2,000 yards with 18 passing touchdowns. So, which name on this list do you think is going to have the biggest impact at their new school? Was there another quarterback who I didn't mention that should have been on this list? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I might do another top 10 quarterbacks video. If you guys haven't done so yet, now is the perfect time to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, make sure to give that like button a quick click as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.